Welcome to Love and Abuse, the show about helping you identify poisonous communication and toxic behavior. You deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. That's why it's important that you learn to pinpoint manipulative and controlling behavior so that you keep your power and your sanity. I'm your host, Paul Coliani. All right, today I want to go over the signs of dating a toxic or manipulative person. And this is for people that are just starting dating or have been dating for a few months. And this will help you identify certain red flags during dating that give you a clue of how the relationship is going to turn out. If it's going to get any better, or is it going to get worse? Is it going to become emotionally abusive or manipulative or toxic in any way? Now, with a list like this, you have to look at the bigger picture. Before I go over a few of these warning signs or red flags, you just have to be aware that just because you have one doesn't mean it's a bad relationship or it's going to be a toxic relationship. It just means, hey, you might have something to talk about. Or there might be a flag that was kind of under the radar, but you knew about it, but you weren't sure if it was going to get any worse. And maybe this list will help you out. So here we go. I'm going to share the signs you're looking for while you're dating. And this can apply to established relationships as well, but this usually happens at the beginning of a relationship. And one of the red flags that I like to tell people about is over-delivering. This is where love bombing, gift bombing, compliment bombing, servitude bombs, I'll explain these in a moment, fulfillment of your wildest dream bombs, and anything else that you find amazingly wonderful, like no one you've ever met, will do to you. Love bombs come in many forms, but just imagine someone going, I love you so much, I love you, I love you, and they're complimenting you and they're telling you how beautiful you are. And this is near the beginning of a relationship when they don't know you as well as somebody would a year or 5 years or 10 years down the road. It just seems like it's an over delivery of compliments and love and this other stuff too, like gift bombs, when they are gifting you things, giving you things, sometimes in the form of money, but usually in the form of gifts. Too many too soon, even any too soon can be a sign. You just have to be aware of it. Compliment bombs, very similar to love bombing. They're complimenting you. I can't believe I have someone so beautiful as you. You're just amazing in every way. In the beginning of a relationship, is all of this really true? I mean, they could be so enamored with you. Yes, it could be true. But, look at this in a bigger picture. If this was just someone who says something like that every now and then, but it's not part of a bigger picture like the rest of this list, then you make your best judgment from that. So those are compliment bombs. How about servitude bombs, when they're doing services for you? Like they're overly helpful. Like, let me get that for you. Let me do that for you. Let me wash the dishes for you. Let me wash your car for you. And it almost seems like you don't have to do anything. It sounds like a dream come true. It really does. But you have to be careful because this kind of stuff too early can be a sign that it is turning into a toxic relationship, or at least an unhealthy one in some way. And finally, the last one, fulfillment of your wildest dreams. Whatever you want to do, they want to do, and they want to make it true. And they're doing their best to make it true. They show up as the perfect person in so many ways, and they over-deliver because they want you to find them totally irresistible, like no one you've ever met. The problem is, if they're like no one you've ever met, then you haven't actually met them yet. You don't know them. You don't know who they are underneath, because that kind of behavior usually has a finite period of time. And you're usually better off getting subtle clues instead of this type of over-delivery. A subtle clue could be, hey, I really enjoy our time together. That could be direct, but also subtle, because underneath they may want to say, wow, I love spending time with you. I miss you every second of the day. I can't wait to be together again. But they're approaching it carefully. They don't want to scare you off, and they don't want to also jump to conclusions in their own mind that this could be great, but I don't want to rush anything. I just want to see where this goes and see if this person's still interested in me. You just gauge it as you go along. But you just have to watch out for over-delivery, because it's often a way to make a relationship move faster so that the other person can gain control as soon as possible. So that's why over-delivery can be very unhealthy, is that it might lead to someone wanting to control you. And that's what we want to avoid. We don't want somebody to take our power away and control us so that we can't be who we want to be and make our own decisions and do what we want to do. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute too. The next red flag to look for while dating is sketchy communication. When they're interested, they will reply to texts. They will call you back. They will be there when they say they're going to be there. They won't ghost or breadcrumb you. Ghosting is when someone disappears for long periods of time, or even indefinitely. They're simply not on the radar. And then you're left wondering what happened to them, hoping they'll call you again. Breadcrumbing is when they seem so genuine in their pursuit of you. They keep reaching out, they keep in touch, and maybe even connect with you once in a while, but they never seem to commit. They conveniently forget to show up. They can tell you they're going to buy tickets to a movie, but then they create some excuse when you're all dressed up and ready to go, but they had something come up just coincidentally. They leave a trail of breadcrumbs that you keep following, but the trail never ends. They're horrible at commitments, and what they say they'll do never aligns with what they actually do. Ghosting and breadcrumbing can happen often in tandem. They disappear, then they send you a text out of the blue. Both of these are extremely toxic. Don't be victim to either for too long. Demand of yourself someone that says what they're going to do and actually wants to spend time with you, and then they follow through in a congruent way, meaning what they tell you their intentions are actually turn out to be what their intentions are. They walk their talk. All right, next red flag to look for is their reactions to self-empowered behavior. Toxic or manipulative behavior is almost always associated with some level of control and power over you. That's why it's toxic. It's behavior that doesn't allow you to be your true self, which is a major component of self-empowerment. If you want to see someone's toxic behavior, all you have to do is show them your independence. Because someone who cares about you and wants to support your happiness is going to support you doing the things that make you happy. If you want to spend time with friends or family, they're not going to make you feel guilty for it. They're going to support you, and they're going to want you to continue to nourish and nurture yourself to show that you aren't drawing from them as your only source of positive energy. You have a life, and it doesn't become all about them. That doesn't mean you don't spend a lot of time with them or even get really close to them, but you need to test how they'll support or not support you making decisions for yourself, especially decisions that don't involve them. Truly supportive, non-toxic people want you to do whatever makes you happy, not whatever allows you to fall into a trap of control. If you want to go visit your family on your own and the person that you're dating begs you to come and makes you feel bad for not bringing them along, note the red flag and just be aware from that point on. All right, the next red flag to look for while dating is the truth is often spoken right in the beginning. When they say that they're hard to get along with and you don't see it, you're wrong. When they say, sometimes I just get angry for no reason, but you can't possibly see that in them at all, you're wrong. When they say, I tend to get a bit jealous, and you think it's cute and they couldn't possibly mean they become excessively jealous, you're wrong. Look for these tiny comments in the beginning and don't shrug them off. Talk about it with them. Get them to expand on what they mean. Ask them in a nice way, not accusing, but you want to hear their explanation. Many times, truths are spoken right at the beginning, but if we become so enamored with someone, we'll brush it off. We'll think it's cute. Or we'll think maybe because they admitted it, it won't come out in this relationship because it's as if they're referring to the past and not the present. You want to look for healthy comments, comments that show that they've actually learned from their mistakes. Something like, I used to get so jealous and I realized how much that hurt the relationship and especially the person I was with. I had to work on that and finally realized that I was only jealous because I was so damn insecure in myself. Something like that will show that not only do they admit they had a problem, but they actually learned a lesson from it, and they felt bad for making the other person feel bad. That can show empathy and caring. But if you're not hearing the lessons learned, which also involves taking responsibility for their behavior, then just know that the behavior they're stating is going to come up in the future and may be a big issue in your relationship. Just something to be very aware of while you're dating. If any of these exist, you want to put your thinking cap on. You want to put your reflective cap on. You want to step outside yourself, outside the relationship, and look at things with a clearer head. Look at things while you're not in them. It's very helpful to get clarity by taking a step outside the relationship, by taking a few steps outside yourself, just to have a third person point of view. Even though it's your own point of view, it helps you elevate your thinking in a way. So you're not in this enamored, falling in love, falling for the other person's state. It can be very helpful and also scary because sometimes you don't want to believe what you're seeing. Sometimes you don't want to believe it, so you might go into a denial and you might brush it off. We have to be very careful about that. You don't want to get into a state of I'm just brushing things off, because anything that you brush off comes up later. And it's better to deal with it now so that you can figure it out. Is this going to be the relationship that you want it to be, or is it going to turn into a nightmare, which we don't want? All right, the final one that I'm going to share in this episode is one of my favorites. And this is something my girlfriend kind of highlighted because she was able to see it in her ex, which is how they treat the waiter, their mom and dad, their family, and their ex can often be an indicator of how they'll treat you. And of course, this is in absence of the lessons learned from who they used to be and how they went through a healing and growing phase. So the one before where somebody says, I used to be jealous and I learned so much and I found out I was insecure. That was a learning process for them. And it sounds like they healed through that and they realized how much they were hurting the relationship and the other person. So this one where they treat the waiter badly or their mom badly or a member of their family or their ex, anyone that they treated badly, which they don't take responsibility for, they don't give you any sign that they've learned their lesson or that they needed to heal or that they felt bad that they were that way. You just have to be aware that that's probably how they're going to treat you one day. Just have to have that in the back of your mind or the forefront of your mind, because that's going to be important. If you see them mistreat someone else, that means that's in them. And if it's in them, it's going to come out in the relationship. Again, unless they've healed from it. But if you've actually seen this behavior in them, then it's in them. But don't allow this to include friends. Their friends don't count in this list. How they treat their friends are different. They aren't usually the subject of control or dissension. That's why they're friends, and they're almost always treated differently. People who are abusive in relationships are often fine, they're golden with friends. That's why friends can't often tell what's going on. Friends can't see what you see. If you're in a relationship with someone who's emotionally abusive or toxic in any way, they're not going to see the same side. Those people show up to their friends completely differently. But close family and an ex, they're the ones that usually know the person best. They're more vulnerable around those people. And the more poisonous a person is underneath, the more they're going to want to control the people around them so that they can control their perceptions of them. If you're a manipulative or controlling person, you want to control people in many ways, because if you don't, your true self will be discovered. And that's the scariest place of all for a toxic person. It leaves them exposed to the world and they feel completely defenseless. They don't allow that, so they choose to control and have power over others. And close family and ex-partners are usually the ones that know them best, that know their vulnerabilities, and they're the ones who are subject to that control and power. So that's it for helping you identify the signs of toxic or manipulative behavior while dating. Overall, I don't think there's a perfect path to dating success because there's a lot of variables. But I do know that when you're dating, sometimes you need to stop for a moment and reflect on what's been happening to make sure you aren't blindly following your heart. I know we're told to follow our heart, but don't do it blindly. Because quite frankly, there are too many unscrupulous people out there that know how to pull at your heartstrings. And as long as you know how the game is being played and what the signs are, you won't fall for it. Or at least there's less of a chance that you will. And I understand you want to be close to the person that you're with. You don't want to have to be hyper aware of the signs of manipulation. You just want to believe that everything is going to go well and everything's going to be great. But all I'm saying is just don't ignore them when you see them. There's nothing wrong with taking things slow, figuring it out as you go along, and love what's going right, and then question yourself about what doesn't seem right. And you'll get the relationship that works for you, for both of you, instead of against you. Share this with others that might benefit. Love and Abuse is the official podcast of the Mean Workbook, which is an assessment and healing guide for difficult relationships. If you want to pinpoint the exact behaviors causing difficulties in your relationship, including not only a lot of the signs that we talked about today, but all of the other signs of possible emotional abuse and manipulation, head over to loveandabuse.com. This show exists to remind you that you are not alone and you're not going crazy. You deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. You deserve honesty and sincerity. You deserve to be treated as worthy and significant, because you are. Thank you for joining me today. We'll talk again soon.